Well, I think it's very important. I think we've been doing a lot of supply chain issues with GBNews, and energy's been one of them. It's been there for a long time, and it doesn't seem like anybody's doing anything about it. So I think the summit today really plays an important part, and really understanding that as the winter comes and we're seeing rising costs everywhere, particularly on energy. There's a lot of issues, particularly with the poor families, particularly with the pensions. I've been doing some calculations, funny enough, just last night, and I was looking at a pensioner on a £3,500 increase in energy per year is nearly 52% of the pension that's coming in. They're going to have to outlay, so it's a huge worry. Yeah. So I think what they need to do on this summit is really start to iron out with the profiteers who are making lots of profits at what they're going to do, but also the government needs to take some responsibility here. They need to look at it and need to have a look at what's happening in the UK with everything else what's rising, and certainly the energy is something that they need to support. We're having people are worried. We're already seeing that.
Yeah, I mean, Richard, you talk about 50% of people's outgoings being spent now on fuel. If it's 10% that they're spending, that's deemed as living in fuel poverty. So to be at 50% is really extraordinary. And I heard an interview on the radio yesterday with a man who called in to phone in. And he said, I've never been on benefits. I've always been in employment, as has my wife. We've always done OK and never had any worries. He said he can't sleep at night, and he's actually feeling suicidal because he just does not know how he's going to get through the winter. Yeah. And we're hearing from people like Martin Lewis, the consumer expert and champion, saying this is as bad as it was for the pandemic for people. When is everybody going to wake up? So do you think this summit will produce a tangible result at the end of it, or is it just more talking?
Well, there's always that risk. There's a lot of talk, and our government seems to be very good at talking. I think they really need to outline and really, like I said, you're hearing horror stories. My mum, 88, bless her, and hello, Mum, she worries about energy bills all the time, and she, as an elderly, they leave the heating on all the time. And you go in the house and it's red hot.
My friend, I went into my mother's last week. She's 93. Yeah. And I started opening all the windows. Yeah. And she said to me, it's freezing.
What are you doing? Yeah.
I mean, the temperature was 30 plus. Yeah. And they need the heat. We don't appreciate that. Yeah, it's a completely different need. Yeah. But do you think, I mean, we talk about this, summit, and they've been summoned to Downing Street, whatever. So what happens? Do they walk in and say, look, right, this is what we're doing, this is what's happening, what are you going to do about it? Well, nothing much, whatever. How tough is the talk going to be?
Well, it's got to be tough. I mean, we're in a crisis at the moment with lots of other supply chain, energy, gas, everything else, fuel. They've got to do something, and it's very important. They really have to sit down and really, we need to see answers. We need to feel confident going into the winter, which we know could be extreme. We've had a very good summer. We could have an extreme winter. And like you said, with your mother and like my mum, the first thing she says to me is, got me heating. I'm putting more and more money away for heating. I mean, we're fortunate we can look after our parents, but there are a lot of pensioners that are not in that position. Yeah. Do we want them turning off the heating over and then that has a huge effect on the NHS. It has a huge effect on everything. So the government really needs to...
Is my heart supposed to bleed for energy companies? Because every time I talk to a government minister, it's, well, we just can't impose taxes on them like this, and they've got to reinvest profits, and they've got to do this and they've got to do that. Why do I care?
Yeah, Eamon, let me read a quote from one of these companies. The CEO of BP has previously described current high prices as a cash machine for the producer. The CFO said they have more money than they know what to do with if prices remain high.
Yeah, it's just crazy. And I don't know why we're not putting these taxes on. We're seeing in other countries in EU, they're starting to give back. They're putting tax on and giving it back to the people. And the UK really needs to address this because, like you say, a lot of it is talk. We hear these talks, they have these summits, and then they come away and then nothing happens. We're in a critical position here. We need to see answers that people can relax. Not relax, but like I said, the person who's worrying about his bills, we should never be in this day and age of 2022 in that situation worrying about energy.